recording. All right, yesterday we learned in the Sicha of the Rebbe, it's a Sicha from Chelik Tesvav 15 of the Sichas of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked a question. We learned yesterday, the Rebbe asked a question that we read in this week's Torah portion. This is the portion of today. Today is Yom Sheni. That Yosef's brothers are coming back to Yosef, and now Benjamin is being accused of stealing Yosef's cup. And Yosef said, I'm going to take Benjamin and put him into prison. And all the brothers are going wild. They're going crazy. And Yehuda steps forward and he says, listen, my master, please have mercy on us. We have an old father. Our old father, if he hears about this, he loves this boy so much, he's going to die. Our old father is very frail. He used to have two sons from his favorite wife. One of them is gone. He's talking about Yosef. He doesn't know he's speaking to the one who's gone. One of them is gone. Now, if you take this one, my father will go. He'll go crazy. He'll die. Please. And so Yosef, it says he can't take it anymore. He can't take it. He sees these brothers that actually he loves them, and he realizes that because they sold him and they wanted to kill him, and that because of that was the only way it could have been. God turned the whole thing around and he saved the whole world. And also he sees his brother Benjamin that he loves so dearly, and he remembers his mother and he remembers this. And Yosef, the first thing he says, I am Yosef. Is my father still alive? So the Rebbe said, what type of a thing is that for him to say? Is my father still alive? Yehuda just gave him a whole lecture about how his father was still alive, and that if he hears that he takes Benjamin, my father is going to die, and my father will suffer, and my father is old, and my father is frail, and he gave him a whole huge soliloquy about my father, and my father, you have to worry about my father, and my father. And what's the first thing Yosef asks? Is my father still alive? He didn't know he was alive. He just finished 2 seconds ago telling you that my father is alive. What? So the Rebbe answers, it wasn't a question. Yosef was amazed. My father is still alive. How could it possibly be? My father is still alive. So the Rebbe said, okay, this is also not understandable. What's the big thing that his father is still alive? His father was 130 years old. Abraham lived 175 years old. Yitzchak lived 180 years. 180 years. So how could it be that he was so surprised that his father was 130 years old? What was the big surprise? That his father... Says the Rebbe, if so, what was he so amazed about that my father is still alive? And especially because he had heard from his brother Yaakov that his father was still alive so many times. If Yaakov would have said it one time, not Yaakov, I'm sorry, Yehuda. If Yehuda would have said it one time, my father will die, then Yosef would say, "Oi, is dad still alive? I didn't know." But he already said it. And in the previous Torah portion, also we see that his brothers told him beforehand also, the first time that they came up. They said, well, our father is alive. He wasn't amazed then. Why all of a sudden he's amazed? And also, what has this got to do with Yosef said, I am Yosef. Is my father still alive? How are they connected one to the other? If the main thing he was still amazed was, is my father still alive? He could have said, is your father, Yaakov, is he still alive? Right? He could have asked him that way. Is he still alive? And been surprised that way. What has this got to do with all of a sudden he revealed, I am Yosef? And because of that, he has this big amazement. Is my father still alive? Now the Rebbe is going to answer. Is there beer in them? The pashtus. The simple meaning is like this. Oh, and the Rebbe also asks a third question. This question about Yosef's asking his brothers if my father's still alive, it's so obviously not in place, and it doesn't make any sense that Rashi should have asked this. Rashi should have made some sort of a explanation. Why is Yosef all of a sudden here saying, is my father still alive? And why is he saying it after his declaration, I am Yosef, is my father still alive? What's the whole connection? And Rashi doesn't say anything, as though it's simple and understandable on its own. Like there's no question. The Rebbe said in the beginning of the Sikha that anytime Rashi comments on something, it's because there's a question there that a 5-year-old child would ask. And if Rashi doesn't comment, it's a sign that either he explained this before, or that there's no question at all. There never was a question. So we have to understand what's so obvious about this, that Yosef suddenly asks from nowhere, right? And he says, I am Yosef, is my father still alive? Why is this so self-understood? Why is it such an obvious thing? That when it seems to be not obvious at all, for the reasons we said before. Okay. Says the Rebbe like this. Rashi Hatshoin Mafarish Gavin. Rashi already explained earlier on the pasuk, V'yim ein lihinachim, that Yaakov refused, he was unable to be comforted on the death of Yosef. What happened? The brothers came back with the coat of colors, the striped coat that Yaakov gave to Yosef because he loved him more than the other brothers, gave him this coat. And the brothers took this coat, they removed it from Yosef, they sold Yosef into captivity, he was gone. They killed a goat and dipped the coat into the blood. They dipped the coat into the blood. And they came back to their father and said, Dad, listen, we found this coat and we can't find Yosef anymore. Isn't it similar to Yosef's coat? And his father said, Oi, this is Yosef's coat. Look, it's full of blood. My son is dead. Yosef is gone. Wow, this is terrible. So it says that the sons, they tried to comfort their father. Now, usually, God forbid, if a father loses his son, it's a terrible, and a same thing in any dear person that's dear that he dies. So the near relatives, if they love him, it's heartbreaking. It's just, you can't accept a thing like that, right? It's impossible. The person is not there anymore, dead. So, but after a week, the pain goes away. And after a month, the pain is almost gone. I mean, let's say it never goes away totally, but still you can deal with it. But Yaakov couldn't deal with it. It says Yaakov could not be comforted. Why not? Because because a person cannot be comforted for someone who is alive. But you think that he's dead. You have all these families that they lose children in war and they're lost in action, right? Lost in action. They don't know where they are. They have the tomb of the unknown soldier. That he represents all the thousands, who knows how many, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of soldiers that just gone and nobody knows where they are. They don't know if they're alive, if they're in prison. And once in a while, there are prisoners. That was the way it was in Vietnam and Korea. There were soldiers that were held then they weren't allowed to contact their families, and nobody knew if they were alive or dead. And 20 years later, 30 years later, they released them. They let them go. So a lot of times families, they can't be comforted, right? Is my son still alive? Is he not alive? But they don't know. So it says because of that, a person that is a question if he's dead or not. So the ones who are close to him that are still alive, they can't really accept comforting because maybe he's dead and maybe he's not. Sha'alamed, then on a dead person, God decided that it'll be forgotten eventually from the heart, and not on a living person. And therefore, Vayitabel, Yaakov, it said that he mourned for his son, Yamim Rabim. Und das said Yosef, this is what Yosef said to his brothers. I'm Yosef. Here I am, I'm still alive. Ubamela verte tamia, therefore he had the big wonder. Haora vichai, is my father still alive? Can my father bear this terrible suffering. I mean, I'm dead and I'm alive at the same time. Vibald as Avin Yosef, because I am Yosef, Yosef leapt, in other words, Yosef is alive. So it comes out as Zwei und 20 Jahre, 22 years, geach and nachanan, one after the other, 22 years in a row, had Yaakov getreuert auf ihm, he was mourning for him. Und derzu, and therefore, vayitabel, was vitabel, therefore he was sitting in, how do you say, he was brokenhearted, in mourning. As was kommt nach as ahava mir mikal banav, because he loved Yosef from all the other sons. Atzar mavil, if so, this is an incredible pain. A father that loses a son, even if it's not his favorite son, this is a terrible pain. Ve'eno rigil klot, something that's not normal at all, is a pella. So it's a most amazing thing. How can Yaakov bear such a tremendous pain for 22 years in a row and still remains alive? Dermit, so therefore, verständig, we can understand was Yosef had gemuzed a Reus Zogen, the Tamia, und sein brother. Why Yosef had to express this amazement to his brothers. But das is a hakdama zu sein veter dika madgish, because this is later on, when immediately after he stresses their inyan hamahirus, quickly bring Yaakov to Egypt, bring my father to Egypt as soon as you can. Why so fast? The Mehirus is not Maharu. Nit no, it's not only go back quickly and bring my father. In them lost Vesen Yaakov, that Yaakov has to know was freer as soon as possible the good news that Yosef is still alive. Ubemele veter oifar, and therefore he will stop this mourning and this pain. But there's even something more. Nor it's also, in other words, not just tell Yaakov that Yosef is still alive, you can stop mourning. We saw him. Even more, Radei alai al tamod. He said, what? Umihartem. Quickly bring my father over here. Vibald, as is an inyan from Sakanas Nefashos. In other words, they said, not only should you hurry back to father, to Yaakov, and tell him that I'm still alive, and then he'll stop, but even more, hurry and bring him to here. Bring him over here. Why? Because every second he doesn't see me, he's in danger. Is a filo noch Yaakov, even after Yaakov, he became, how do you say, enlivened by the good news, durch der Basura, O Joseph Chai, darfer der Elchove Ereno, Zaimirus. He has to see, I want him to see me. That's going to be the only way he'll really, truly be comforted. So it's not enough that, so therefore Yosef said, I am Yosef. Because I am Yosef, I want you to know that I'm still alive. And my father obviously must have felt that I'm still alive. Because it says that a mourner cannot be comforted on someone that's really alive. So therefore he said, my brothers, I'm still alive. I can imagine the pain my father has been having these 22 years. Is my father still alive? Can it possibly be that my father he knew somewhere deep down in his heart that I'm still alive, and therefore I cannot be forgotten from his heart, and he loved me so much, right? As quick as you can, go back and tell him the good news, and even more, bring him over to here, because to erase such terrible pain, it has to be face to face. According to this, now we can understand the long language of Yosef. Was either sein Zagen, before he said to the other tribes, hurry and bring my father, he said, Dreimal 3 times. He says, L'michye shalacheni Elokim lifnechem, v'shal Yishlacheni Elokim lifnechem. Lo atem shalachtem oti. He said to his brothers 3 times, listen, I'm here because God wants me to be here. You did a big favor to the world that you put me in that pit. You saved the world. You are okay. Don't worry. In the end, we see that it really didn't help that much, because in the end, the brothers also suspected, right? As soon as Yaakov died, they all suspected that maybe now Yosef will take revenge, right? He didn't want to take revenge when his father was alive. But nevertheless, Yosef had to say 3 times to his brothers, you're not at fault. Don't worry. God wanted me to come down here. In fact, you did a really good thing. You sent me down here that I've saved the whole world. He said it 3 times. Vibaltas yet a regular, because every second which Yaakov begegent un zet nit Yosef, every time that Yaakov does not meet up with Yosef, is for Hana Chashas, there's a worry that maybe he'll die. Maybe his broken heart. So a person can ask a question. Viet Yosef, how could he, how could he suffice just to say, bring my father? Azay Zolan Gain Kain Eretz Israel, and bring in Yaakov to there. Erhat Gedarft Gleich immediately. He should have said, hurry, bring my father. Even more, he should have gone himself. Yosef, he should have gone himself to the land of Israel and then seen Yaakov himself. Yosef to them, in addition, was mitzad kiburav, also in the fact that the mitzvah of honoring his father, he should have gone to Yaakov himself in the beginning. Even more, we can ask another question, even a bigger question. As soon as Yosef became king of Egypt, then he should have gone to see his father. Ubafrad, as his Darv Zayin, the Mehirus Gedola, he knew that Yaakov was suffering all this time. He knew, the brothers maybe didn't know that Yosef was still alive. But Yaakov, deep down in his heart, felt it. And Yosef, he knew it. Yosef, he knew that his father thought he was dead. And Yosef knew that he himself was alive. So as soon as Yosef was able, he should have immediately gone himself down to his father. He should have gone there, 7 years earlier, as soon as he became the king. Why didn't Yosef go himself? Why did he wait for his brothers to come? He says the reason is very simple. Durch them, then, but he should have gone earlier. And that's what Yosef said by means of saying many times, that you have to know that the reason that I am here is because God sent me here. I'm here as a shliach of God. I am here to save the whole world. Therefore, I haven't got permission to leave. Every second that I'm here is important. I can't even leave this place. That made his brothers also feel a lot better. They knew now that Yosef being there, every second that Yosef was there was very important. So important that he couldn't even leave there and go and tell his father. Another thing is the noitikite from Meharu, that was so important to hurry up and bring my father. Rashi had shown freer. Rashi had earlier said that Yaakov's avelus, that Yaakov was mourning on his son Yosef. This corresponds to the 22 years that Yaakov didn't honor his father and mother. Yaakov didn't honor his father. All the time that he was there, says 20 years he worked by Lavan. He worked by Lavan 20 years, right? He worked the 14 years for the Leah and Rachel, and 6 years he worked for the sheep, right? So it's 14, it's 20 years he worked, and then the other 2 years when he was on the road. So it says those 20 years, 22 years, Yaakov did not honor his father Yitzchak. Therefore, Wezendik, as the Kaf base, these 22 years from Yaakov's punishment had finished. Had Yosef gefathered from the Shvatim, therefore he demanded from the Shvatim, listen, now you have to hurry up and go to my father. Why hurry up? Because now the 22 years has finished. Right? Yosef was thrown into the pit there for 12 years, and he was the king for another 9 years, and there was 2 other years also, the time when he was in the Potiphar, etc. So that was the 22 years. So he said the 22 years is now finished. Vibaltas the Zamana Onish, because the time of the suffering of my father and the punishment of my father has finished. My father is being punished because he didn't honor his father, Yitzchak. So therefore, don't delay even 1 second. Okay. So if so, this is now answer to all the questions, basically. Yosef was amazed that his father was still alive after 22 years of mourning. Yosef himself couldn't go and tell his father because it was necessary every second that he would be in Egypt. God sent him there to save the whole world. The reason that he told his brothers to hurry up and tell his father was, first of all, to to spare him extra suffering, but even more, 22 years of the suffering was a punishment from God. Yaakov had to suffer these 22 years, and the 22 years had finished. So therefore he said, hurry up and tell my father immediately. According to this, now we can really understand why Yosef had said, hurry and bring my father. Why he didn't say, bring our father? Why my father? Because in addition to the fact which the pain that Yaakov had was connected with Yosef, why was Yaakov in pain for 22 years? Because he was mourning Yosef. Therefore, so Yosef said, bring my father. Now, my father, he's suffering because of me. Dermot Hater Ramezi also hinted at the speed which is connected Midzayin Yosef's Kenan Mekayim Zayin Mitzvahs Kibud Av Aim. Now Yosef said, now I can fulfill the commandment of honoring your father and mother. I can honor my father, Vibalta Zayin and Shoin Reber, because now there's finished the 22 years of the punishment which Yaakov got because he didn't honor his father. So therefore, now I can start honoring my father because my father has been exonerated from the lack of honor that he didn't give to my grandfather. Therefore, Hatman Oich Tahorah, therefore, this is what we can learn to serve God. See, Izdal Mol sometimes was Mendarv Zich Benutzen Mitatenua from small doche. Sometimes a person has to be severe and strict, harsh, gavura, even to give punishment. Darf men aber wissen, but you have to know, as es fadert sich thereby as the heroes Yisera, that if you have to be severe or give a punishment, let's say you're a teacher in a class or to one of your children, you have to be severe sometimes. You have to be harsh, but you have to know that you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. As mizol sich nid benutzen mit der Mida yoter mikafiyat zoach. That you shouldn't use the aspect of severity. Right? It's very easy for a teacher. A teacher is like a king over the pupils, right? They're all like his servants. A father over his children, right? He's like he's stronger than them. He's bigger than them. They're dependent on him for food, for shelter. So sometimes it becomes necessary that you have to be strict. And here now you've got all this ability to be as strict as you want, right? The children are helpless. It says that's when you have to really be very careful not to do more than is totally necessary. Vi nor es kommt der rega, as soon as that instant comes, was is nit muchrach, which is not necessary, dechia b'gavura, not necessary to be strict, like we have with Yosef. He knew that his father had to suffer for 22 years because it was coming. His father did not honor his father, right? His grandfather didn't honor. Therefore, but as soon as that time was finished, Yosef said, okay, now I have to be as kind as possible. Darf menim and ofen from Mihirus. You have to be quickly. Men ton im dem kav from chesed. You have to do kindness and love and kiruv. Yamin mekareves. So it's the same thing like also, there's a lot of groups in Judaism that if there's people that are not religious or they're anti-religious or they're and they're dangerous. So you just keep far away from them. You say bad things about them and etc. And you'd have to keep far away from them. So it's okay, to these people, if that's the way they do things, and sometimes it's necessary to be like this, the fact is, but the first opportunity that there is, or the first opening that there is to stop severity is you have to stop it. The first possibility there's, and that's the whole novelty of Chabad, that we're looking for opportunities how we can arouse in the other person something good. We're not looking for opportunities to find the bad and the negative and the what has to be fixed in the other guy, but exactly the opposite. To look and to find what's good in the other person, to see what's unique about the other person, and to do everything possible in order to bring this out. In other words, severity and harshness is necessary, but only to the degree as is necessary should it be used. Any more than that is totally unnecessary. On the other hand, love and giving over, if you use a little bit too much of it, so like it says in the 32nd chapter of the Tanya, at least you didn't lose the commandment of loving another Jew. So that's what why Yosef said, is my father's still alive. He was amazed that after 22 years of deep suffering for his son, he could still be alive. I think that Hashem should be saying the same thing to the Jewish people. We have been suffering, right, so deeply. We've been Hashem doesn't, so to speak, even know where we are. The Jewish people are so spread out, so confused, that Hashem obviously must be mourning for us as well. It says, B'kol tzarotam lo tzar. And it says the Shekhinah is in exile with the Jews. So the first possible opportunity that we can to let our Father know, hey, we're coming back, we're still here, as we should certainly do it and try to make it happen with as many others as possible. Okay, let's learn the Yom Yom. Today's Yom Yom. Today's Yom Yom. There it is. Today is the 6th day of Tevis. It is written, Da'at Elokei Avicha v'avdehu b'levav shalem. It says, you should know the God of your fathers. Know the God of your fathers. It's a pasuk in Chronicles. Know the God of your fathers and serve him with a complete heart. In other words, it's a commandment to know God. Calling in the idea of Hasaga, you should know that any understanding and grasping of God, even in the deepest, most mysterious levels of godliness, esoteric levels of godliness, you have to come to be service. Right? They used to have these places, I don't even know if they still exist, the Kabbalah Center, the Kabbalah Club, the Kabbalah courses in Kabbalah. Okay, this is very nice, but you have to know that the whole essence of Kabbalah and the secrets of the Torah is that it should come to actually serve God, to actually do the commandments with love and with fear and with joy. The understanding God is necessary, but the understanding is in order to serve God. In other words, purifying one's personality, and also an inner connection to God, which is called avodah. Avodah means working on yourself and serving, changing yourself and serving the creator of the universe. So the deepest ideas in Kabbalah, and it's necessary that people should know as much as possible, but they must come to actual service of the creator. Have a good day, everyone. God bless you all. Be with us at 3:00. We'll learn the portion of the Chumash with Rashi and other Meforshim, and then we learn Mishnayos. Have a good day. God bless you all, and Mashiach now. There was a message over. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.